is an entity that is unsalvageable and has become a political outgrowth of the DNC. If your name is Trump or Navarro or Bannon, the FBI will come after you. If your name is Hillary Clinton with unsecured emails, or if it's Joe Biden, you're safe. That's the FBI today.
Matt, when did the FBI move? Because I'm old enough to remember when we used to have esteem. We held the FBI in esteem, and they weren't political. And you were fearful of, but you were always glad they were there. When did it become a political operation?
Well, let's go back in history and understand that when the terrorist attacks in 2001 happened, when we tore down the wall between law enforcement and intelligence, that's where some of this rot started. Now, that does not mean that every rank and file member of the FBI, whether they work counter intel or whether they work law enforcement mission, there's a lot of good people out there, and I worked with them when I was a U.S. attorney, and I worked with them when I was attorney general. But some of this has infected, especially the leadership on the 7th floor and those that are promoted and politically ambitious within the FBI and seek these leadership roles, and I think that's where all the problems started, and it's how we find ourselves here now.
And Sebastian, what about you? When do you think it started? It's hard. I'm hard pressed to think it started way back in 2001. It almost feels like, remember Strzok and his lover, the two married lovers from the FBI. It seems like it was under, that transition from Obama maybe into Hillary. That's when this whole thing started.
Well, Matt's actually right in one regard. The day after 9/11, the then President George Bush ordered Jim Comey to prevent the next 9/11. That's not law enforcement and investigation. That's an intelligence agency mandate. And as such, the FBI was turned into a domestic intelligence agency. That's why an FBI email today, Eric, ends in with the letters IC, FBI.gov.IC. IC stands for intelligence community. But the bottom line is the following. The rot happens. I got to qualify what Matt said for a second. I've heard this from enough, commentators and so-called conservative show hosts. You know who I'm talking about. It's just a few rotten apples. No, it's not just a few rotten apples. The institution is bankrupt morally. We've got thousands of agents, thousands of intelligence analysts, and 18 whistleblowers out of 30,000 brave people like Steve Friend and Carl Serafin. When you're given a search warrant to break down the door of a pro-life preacher in Pennsylvania and use a special agent, don't say to your supervisory special agent, here's my badge, here's my gun, I'm not the Gestapo. It's not just the leadership. The whole thing is corrupt.
I'll leave it right there.